What's up, guys? We are back with another Masters of the Universe review, and it's been a little while since I've done anything MOTU related. I think I've not been on the ball with a lot of MOTU stuff lately. I've been getting it. I've not stopped collecting Origins or Masterverse. I just haven't really found the time to review stuff. But this latest wave of Masterverse has some really heavy hitters, so I've really been curious to check these out. And we're going to take a look, maybe not at all of them, but we'll see what we get through. We're going to take a look today at FAKER because, well, it's FAKER, and he's one of my favorite MOTU characters, and I'm really curious to see what they've done with this one, not to mention if there's any changes. You know, it's been a while. I've got a big stack of Masterverse that are just sort of unopened. I'm actually going to open these, and we're going to take a look. Now, these are, in this wave, these are standard Masterverse figures, so they come in that regular style packaging. We've still got that sort of weird shape with all the ETERNIA hieroglyphs all over it. This is one of the new ETERNIA figures. You've got the figure there in the window, nameplate on one side, you've got some artwork on the other side, a different shot of artwork on the back with some cross-sell for this wave, as well as a little bit of a bio for everybody's favorite blue He-Man. So let's do it. Let's pull them out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Masterverse new ETERNIA FAKER. So this, of course, is our classic blue FAKER that we're now getting in the Masterverse line. He's not that classic blue with the orange armor, though. This one definitely takes some inspiration from other instances in the vintage MOTU landscape, so vintage toys, variants, vintage artwork, things like that. So he has that darker purple, pinkish style armor, which I actually really like. I would have liked to have seen orange as well, but we've already got that if you want to sort of mix and match. Now, he is also FAKER, so he's still going to be very He-Man-like, but he is not 100% the exact same thing as some of the He-Man figures we've gotten. So let's see what he can do, see how he moves around. It's still going to be really familiar. We've got a head that can, well, he can't really look up. He can look down really, really good. Not really any tilt, but you do have rotation there. Arms out at the shoulders. They rotate. You've got your bicep swivel, double jointed elbows. Really good range there. You got hinges, you got rotation at the wrist. The upper torso is where things are definitely different because this is a unique torso piece for him, and I'll show you more about that here in a minute. But it doesn't do that thing that I kind of complained about with other Masterverse figures in that it sort of rubber bands back. It's still not a lot. It's still not great range by any means, but when you actually move it, it's staying this time. So you can actually tilt him to the side, and he's not gonna move backwards on his own. He has some crunch. It's not great. Like it's almost non-existent still, but it's something. And it's a swivel point too. So I'm really happy that this just sort of works, whereas previously it just didn't really do a whole lot. Still have your waist twist down there. Legs go out all the way. They kick forward pretty good because of the cuts in the loincloth. You've got your thigh twist up there. The knees, of course, are double jointed. I will say that I had the hardest time moving this knee. I had to heat it up over and over and over again. It almost looked like it was just like welded shut. It was really, really tight. So maybe keep an eye out on yours. Got our boot cut down there. And then we've got a pretty good hinge and really good rocker down here also. So he's still really familiar. Like they didn't exactly reinvent the wheel on this guy, but just to be able to move that upper torso, that diaphragm cut, and it not sort of jump right back into neutral pose is a nice quality of life improvement for me. Now, as far as the overall look and feel, I'm overwhelmingly happy with the way this FAKER turned out. He's maybe not like your cookie cutter vintage FAKER, but he's really close, and he has a lot of callbacks to certain vintage designs. Of course, he has his blue skin, super clean and consistent throughout. It is, well, it's molded plastic, so of course it should be, but that blue looks really good. Nice baby blue, powder blue. The loincloth and the boots have a nice purple. They've got nice weathering on them. So do the bracers. So you've got like a silver dry brushing to look a little bit worn and beaten. I do really like that. His armor is probably one of the more heavy departures, I guess, if anything, because FAKER is routinely shown with orange armor. This, of course, is the more fuchsia, purpley, pink color, which does have vintage callbacks. It's not an unknown. It's not incorrect. It's not a brand new take or anything, but it is maybe a lesser used interpretation of FAKER, so I am pretty happy to see that. I think it looks really nice on here. It definitely pops against that blue, and then he does have a little bit of paint on there, too. The crossbones are a different color, as is the little jewel in the center. So I think that looks good. Of course, you can take it off if you don't want to use it. You can have an almost naked FAKER. And then you've got your head sculpt up here, which I think the sculpt is really good. The hair looks great. That reddish brown color works with the wash in it. He's got pupilless eyes, which I always like for villains. It just makes them look, kind of evil. And then you've got, the overall paint is pretty well done. My only real criticism is that while it's pretty well done, it does seem to be a little heavy-handed. I think he's got way too much shading on the cheekbones. There's a little bit of shading on the nose, which I find to be entirely unnecessary. And then it looks like he has like lipstick on almost. Overall, though, I think he does look really nice there. It's pretty decent. And the sculpt is nicely accentuated with, actually having paint on it, which is always welcome. What I really like about this guy, though, is the fact that, of course, like I said, take the armor off, which is always a hallmark of MOTU stuff. Pop the head off. And we've got, of course, you've got your control panel underneath. He's got unique shoulders here as well. They have these little, like, doodads on them. He's got shoulder doodads. But he's got his control panel on his chest. What's pretty crazy about this is sculpted. It's not a sticker. It's not just tampo. For some reason, I mean, it's a good thing, don't get me wrong. For some reason, Mattel decided to go all out and fully sculpt that. And there are like 20 plus paint hits on there. It's fully painted, fully sculpted. Pretty nuts, honestly. I am completely surprised that they decided to do that. In every which way they could have gone, they decided to go what I assume is the most difficult route when it comes to making a modern interpretation of that vintage sticker. So that's really rad. I think they did a solid job on this. If anything, that's like the biggest takeaway from this figure is that while I do have a few criticisms, they absolutely went the extra mile by going just super hard to make that as detailed as possible. Now for accessories, FAKER comes with kind of standard fare for the Masterverse line. We get some weapons and we get some hands. Unfortunately, no extra heads. I would have really liked to have seen, some sort of like Terminator-esque style battle damage head like we've gotten like in classics or even with, of course, the Revelation FAKER, but we don't get that here. We do get two hands, so you get a right fist. He has gripping hands on him in the box. You get a right fist, and we get the ever-present left shield bearer hand, which he has no shield, so it's like a slapping hand. I'm still not the biggest fan of this because it's just kind of a weird hand. I would have much rather had a second fist, but here we are. He does get two weapons, though, and these are really good. So to start with, we get the battle axe done up in classic FAKER orange, which is kind of surprising considering his armor color. But I do really like this. It's beaten and battered and chipped and damaged. And of course you can see the sort of metal poking through. So like the whole thing is very much worn and just beaten to hell. So I do really like that. A lot of silver dry brushing over it. He does have the sheath on the back, so you could pop that in there if you want to. Or of course you can use that for sword storage because he does get a FAKER style power sword. Now it has the guard on it, vintage callback there with the guard for the handle. It's done up in a similar but more dirty kind of fuchsia, purple, pinky color like the armor is. It's not the same, obviously, but it's close. It's in spirit, and it's very techno. Like it's very much cobbled together from various plates and stuff like that. It has this sort of like futuristic look, a very robotic look, which obviously works. And there's a lot of silver dry brushing all over this too. I really, really like this sword. I'm a big fan of this. I do wish that he would have come with a shield to utilize this hand just to kind of round out the overall He-Man kit of weaponry. But at the end of the day, these are the two things that I'm really, really happy to see. Although at the same time, I would have liked to have seen this maybe done up in the same kind of color as this, but this is also really cool on its own. So yeah, overall, this is a really solid FAKER. And if you don't have classics, if you never got into that or you weren't around for that, this is a really good FAKER to just grab because it's vintage inspired. It's not orange armor FAKER, but this still has a lot of vintage roots throughout various, instances and releases and bits of artwork and things like that. The blue is an instant callback, so is this armor color, and he just looks great. I'm really happy with the way he turned out. I like the fact that we've got some change in articulation with that torso. It's not huge, but it's something. The excess of sculpting that control panel is just absurd to me, but I love it. And then he comes with some really solid accessories on top of that. He doesn't come with everything I would have really wanted, but at the end of the day, getting the sword and getting the axe in these particular configurations is really cool. So that's going to do it for this look at the Masters of the Universe Masterverse New Eternia FAKER. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.